Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Hello and welcome to the Think Factory Women's Roundtable Wellness Podcast, where we learn how women think big and grow their business. My name is Susan Kleiner. I'm partner with Outside General Counsel Solutions, and I'm the host of today's episode. I'm happy to have here with me today, Jessica Robinson. Jessica is an executive officer of PurePoint International, helping CEOs and C-level leaders bridge the gap among data security, cyber risk, and privacy. PurePoint International provides cybersecurity consulting and training for financial services, insurance, and other middle market global companies. She's a sought-after keynote speaker, she's won multiple awards, and she's an innovator. With a non-traditional background, she is known for her unique approach of cybersecurity is love. That's something that we don't hear about much. Welcome, Jessica, to our podcast. So tell me more. What is PurePoint? And I know you found it. So what brought you to PurePoint International?
Yeah, absolutely. And Susan, thank you so much for having me here. It's wonderful to be here with you, especially in October for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And, I started PurePoint back in 2012. And there are a couple different versions of the story that I tell. One that was very, very kind of deep for me in terms of just this deep calling to be able to create this and bring it to life. And I was on a pilgrimage in India and Nepal, and I had a dream. And so when I woke up from this dream, it was just very clear to me that we needed to have a company in the world or some sort of resource in the world that was grounded in the only words that I can use at the time was in the feminine, something and a feminine approach to security to really support people out there that needed a different way. And that way was an approach that acknowledged that, yes, physical security was important. Cybersecurity was important, but so was emotional, psychological, and spiritual, and that there needed to be a different way of being. And so I came home within 6 months. The company was formed, and within 18 months, I left the corporate world and started doing this work full time. And I found that specifically it was women and women leaders that gravitated to this, women who were in the nonprofit world that were serving communities that were impacted in multiple different ways, people that were looking for a different way of just thinking about security and embracing security. High visible leaders were drawn to this. People who were interested and were kind of in the media or some way, or their family was, and they needed a way to think about how to support themselves when they felt stressed and when they felt insecure in multiple different areas. And because sometimes when we don't feel safe, it isn't just because of a digital issue or a digital threat or from a physical threat. So how do we really do this in a way that supported people where they were? And then it was also women leaders in business who were just like, we need a different approach to thinking about security overall. And it was wonderful and refreshing to be able to see women responding to this the way that they were. And that's really how this started. And so that became the cornerstone of this work. And then in 2015, started our CISO service and started to kind of more in depth start to serve the business community through that service as well.
Yeah. So you had this vision, and what you had didn't exist, and so you created it. That's
absolutely.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, and that's such an inspiring message. And now here you are, 10, 12 years later, and your company has come to fruition. I know that, and you're super active and super busy, and wow, that's so inspiring. So when you talk about, bringing the feminine in, I know you also talk about holistic security, which you kind of just mentioned when you talk about different types of security, but would you mind just talking about that a little bit more and maybe also explain how cybersecurity is love?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the first part and just bringing in the holistic security piece, so the components of that are physical security, digital security or cyber security, and emotional, psychological, and spiritual. And we do have an asterisk there for sustainability, just kind of really being, mindful of the fact that we are in a large 8 billion community on this earth. And so what does it mean to always be mindful of that? And this is really a feminine approach to security. I think an example of the masculine approach to security is kind of like the military approach, which is so needed in this world, right? We need both the masculine and the feminine, but the feminine approach is something that is absolutely needed to be able to support in many ways the wholeness of who we are, and also to support people where they are. Not everyone is going to be open to kind of this kind of a more forceful approach to security, particularly if they are in a very vulnerable state. And so this approach really allows and empowers people to take that on. And you can look at it also as kind of a mind, body, spirit approach. And so I think that that's a beautiful way to look at it. And one of the things that has been a huge force in my life has been meditation. And so, and every morning at 7:45 a.m. on our handle Consciously Secure on Instagram, I lead a meditation at 7:45 a.m. Eastern time. And so, and that's also part of this work of, let's, come in and, let's clear our own energy every day as we go out into our work. And then that second part of cybersecurity is love. It's really just this acknowledgement for all of us as leaders and as individuals that it doesn't matter where we are, that if we are in a space, whether we are CEO or COO, CFO, General Counsel, CTO, CISO, whatever it happens to be, Director of IT, or and not having any of those titles within an organization, that why would we not do everything that we can to support our own selves, the well-being of those that we serve, our clients, the well-being of our team, the well-being of everyone that could be impacted by an incident within our organization? And that if, that extension of loving our data, loving our systems, loving our clients, loving our team, is a way for us to be able to actually have an approach to security where we can be proactive, where we can be in a service mode to say, hey, let's really make sure that we're creating this environment of safety and security where we are building trust and we're inviting people to want to work with us, instead of being reactive and only responding based on fear. And so for us, cybersecurity is love.
Yeah, I mean, as you were talking about that, I was thinking about how proactive you are and like how it is nourishing, right? Versus this, military fear-based view. And I have to say that for me, it is easier to think about in terms of a form of self-care, right? Versus being scared. So, and I know you've been really successful with that approach. So tell me some
who
more.
wants to go through a breach? No one wants to go through a breach. And so why not actually just be proactive and doing everything you can to mitigate it? That's an act of self-love, right? Just like taking care of our mental health is an act of self-love. Taking care of our own physical health is an act of self-love. So taking care of our business health and our cyber health is an act of self-love. So why ignore something in our business that can bring us tremendous pain? I saw a statistic yesterday that said that 60% of small businesses were impacted by a breach, of all breaches over the past couple of years, and many of them went out of business. And so could we have prevented that by just having a proactive and healthy approach to cybersecurity in our business and prioritizing it? And that's really the viewpoint that we have.
And so PurePoint obviously helps out with training and, putting these defenses in place, looking at data, like you said, actually fostering trust. But can people also call you? I mean, do companies use you when, in the unfortunate event, their data has been breached or they're facing some sort of a cybersecurity threat?
Yes, absolutely. And companies do call us during those times. Our signature service is our CISO service, so our Chief Information Security Officer service. And so we were really at the forefront of starting that back in 2015. And that's when we come in and really build cybersecurity programs from the ground up, helping organizations to also mature the programs that they currently have. And so a lot of the impetus to that of us being called to come in and do that is an incident. Something has happened, and so now they need to respond to it, and they want to ensure that it doesn't happen again. We also, depending on how sustained the breach is within the organization, we may also bring in other outside partners. On our team, we do have people that have a forensics background, so they may come in and start forensics, but it's possible we'll call in other partners in order to be able to execute incident response. And then, additional reasons why people call us in, I would say, is because of they have regulatory requirements that they have to meet. They are going through a vendor risk questionnaire through an ideal clients that they have to meet those expectations. And so they call us in to help them do that. And the other thing is because they are looking to just truly elevate that program and bring in a chief information security officer, someone who is operating and executing at that executive level to support the executive team, and also if they have a board, their board.
Wow, I was just thinking as you're talking about that, like when I think about cybersecurity incidents, I was thinking, wow, meditation comes really helpful then.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. And, so much of what our work is managing through crises. And so for us as practitioners, being able to kind of find that calm place within ourselves to be able to support the people that we serve is absolutely essential. But that's really no different than a CEO or a general counsel or a CFO. So, it really is, again, this act of service to be able to say, hey, let's kind of come back to our own self, so that, the more that we have the capacity to lead ourselves, the more we have the capacity to lead others.
Oh, for sure. So is there a particular industry that you specialize in? Financial, legal, something else?
Yeah, our where we've had a lot of success has been in financial services and in the insurance industry. That industry, particularly in the state of New York, is bound to a cybersecurity regulation by the Department of Financial Services. And so we worked closely with companies there because that's where our company is headquartered. And we've also worked in the healthcare industry. That's been a big one as well. And so we've had good success there. And then we're also been starting to branch out into energy manufacturing, really wanting to really help serve those companies in different ways and for various reasons. So.
Yeah, so for sure, highly regulated industries, but it seems like PurePoint and your services could be helpful kind of across industries.
Absolutely. I mean, we have served companies in several industries and all, multiple industries from film publishing, filmmaking industry to consulting to nonprofit. To startups that are individuals and companies that are just getting started. And so we have worked across the board. And I think, a huge piece for why that has happened is simply because of our approach to security. People are looking for something that is not traditional. They are looking for a different way. And they're looking for something that matches their own values. If there's a company that's completely centering not only the client, but is centering core values that they have as well in their business, that is, for them, that's a requirement to say, yes, this is a company I want to work with. And so bringing those skills that we use in these regulated companies and that approach of love and that holistic security approach, that really has been a key way for us to stand out in the cybersecurity industry, which, is a $6 trillion industry. So it's something that I've been very grateful that people and companies have been receptive of this approach.
So when I hear you talking about, setting up policies and working with C-level leaders, also responding to crisis, but let's talk a little bit about the preventative aspects and particularly about training. Can you tell me a little bit about the importance of training and what PurePoint does with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's part of our service of CISO as a service that we go in and we're building companies. And this is absolutely critical because when it comes to training, this is going to be probably one of the key and most important ways that we can prevent incidents from happening within our business. And that's because so many of them happen through social engineering. So someone clicking on a link that they thought was a trusted link, someone opening an attachment that they thought was trusted, someone who maybe went to a site that they thought was a trusted site and it wasn't. A lot of that can actually be prevented through training. And so that's something that we have put a lot of attention into for the companies that we work with. It's one of those things that we can put into place to be able to get a good barometer on the metrics, and also then to see and to match those metrics over time. And it's something that we can also do to be able to spend time with them in person to be able to find out what is most important to them and what are their biggest challenges and what are their biggest fears, and address that in the training itself.
I think that's and it sounds like it's always changing, right? Like what used to work 5 years ago in terms of data breach, if you're the person breaching, is much different than what happens now. I mean, these people have gotten so much more sophisticated in terms of making it look like an email is from a particular person or the ask, putting in these links that look real. It is evolving. I mean, these folks are smart.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. They're incredibly smart, and many of them can be incredibly resourced, particularly if they're supported by a nation state hacker or nation state. And so it's really incredible. And I mean, because these messages, they come in through email, they come through text message to our phone. They're targeting executives, they're targeting people that make key decisions in the business, like where to send out payments. And we've seen recent incidents of deep fakes where employees have been on calls with people they truly believe are their leadership team and have approved funding for and the sending of checks to individuals that should never have happened. And so one of the key way, and really the only way to really prevent something like this, is through training. And training is absolutely critical. So for any leader that's listening to this, if there's anything that you do, you want to be training your employees on a routine and regular basis. It's absolutely.
And working with a company like yours so that they can stay up on, because it's constantly evolving. Like what
Absolutely.
the scams from 5 years ago are not the scams today. I gotta tell you, like it's absolutely frightening to hear about a deep fake phone call. That's next level.
It is. My parents they ask a lot of questions, and one of the key things that I've noticed my mom and my dad doing is not saying the word yes when they're on a call, because they want to make sure that they're not, that they're never putting themselves in a position where someone can ever record their voice and ever use that. So it's been interesting how they have kind of even looked at certain things to go, okay, let me make sure I'm not doing certain things. And that's when they're on specific calls with, like someone's calling out of the blue and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So, but I thought it was a really great approach. So.
Yes, I mean, so it obviously impacts us personally in our own lives, but obviously on a much bigger scale, with companies. So,
absolutely.
So if you could tell me a little bit about, I mean, in 2012, when you had this vision, right? And, you said in a period of 18 months, you were full time with your own company. That's a huge leap. And I'm curious, like, what was the most important for you in your ability to take that leap and start your own company? And, who helped you along the way? Like, how did you do it?
Yeah, I wish I could say that it was really well planned out, and it wasn't. I never in my life saw myself having a business or owning a business. In fact, when I was younger, I thought owning a business had to be one of the hardest things in the world, and I had no idea how one could even begin or start that. I think what pulled me to do it was the vision itself and just having faith. Because when I started, though I had nearly 10 years of experience in the corporate world, it certainly wasn't like I was this expert in marketing or felt confident in handling my financials every month or felt confident in creating a strategy. These are just things I learned along the way, and I was grateful to have the opportunity to, over the years, attend different classes and workshops and be a part of different programs around entrepreneurship and creating a business. That first year and the first few years were some of the hardest in my life because it was truly this growing edge. It was really the passion that pulled me forward. It was really the calling and the knowing that this work was needed in the world, and and also that this was part of my work here in the world. So if I was going to kind of go on my sword for anything, to be able to do what I feel like we all are here to do something. We're all called to do something. We all have a purpose. And I felt like through my life experience of not of knowing and feeling what it's like to not feel safe, of traveling the world by myself, through college and undergrad, knowing what that felt like, moving to New York by myself, even though I moved there with work, still starting to create and establish a life there. These were things that I knew that I wasn't alone in feeling, and that I felt like this work was needed in the world, and I was willing to do whatever I could to get there and make it happen. I mean, I still remember in 2016 when my landlord sent me an eviction notice. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening. But that's what I mean around willing to do anything to do it. And sure enough, having faith within really 30 days, I was able to pay that back, and I think maybe that was just the impetus to reach out to others for help, whether it was people in my family or reaching out to people to go, all right, how can I be better at this? How can I be better at the business piece? I feel like I have something here that's really worth sharing with the world. I feel great and confident about that, but I need to, continue to focus on marketing and getting out there and help me to do that. And I've had a great community of women that helped me to do that. And I was a part of an organization, Million Dollar Women in New York City, run by Julia Pimsler. Also, SCORE, which supports small businesses. The New York City has a program that they support for businesses. So I really took advantage of all the resources that were available to me as a minority women-owned business, and really took that and ran with it. And I think that's one of the things that keeps me going today is that it's like how hard it was, to just bring a vision to life. And it's like, okay, I'm here, and let's continue to take this vision and go to that next level and serve more people. So.
And hopefully, I mean, so you had mentors and cheerleaders and people along the way. It says you took advantage of services. Just knowing you and hearing you, I have to imagine that you are, paying it back, paying it forward, with people that come to you now that maybe have a vision or want to start something new. I mean, mentorship is powerful, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've had 3 women in the past week reach out to me directly to actually, if I were to extend that, I would say probably 2 additional women if we add in an extra couple of weeks, and 5 women in total. And I'm meeting with all of them, wanting to know what's going on with you, how can I help, and some are in different areas. Some are business owners, some are in the cybersecurity community, and I just want to know how can I best be of service to you. And everyone's at different levels of leadership, and so it's great to be able to kind of see what's similar around what's happening with them, but also what's new and what's emerging, and how I can support.
So if somebody listens to this and they say, I need to talk to her, what is the best way for them to find you and reach out to you?
The best way is LinkedIn. So if you put in Jessica Robinson, you will learn that there are a lot of Jessica Robinsons in the world. So if you add PurePoint, Jessica Robinson PurePoint, I'll come up right away. And just reach out to me and send me a message. Let me know what's going on with you. Let me know how that you listen to this podcast, and what's most you at the moment. And I would love to connect.
So what are you excited about? What's going on with PurePoint right now that has you excited?
So a couple of key things. We've been doing our CISO service for 10 years now. We're celebrating 10 years this year, and it's been a wonderful journey. And so earlier this spring, we launched our CISO advisory service, where we're working with chief information security officers directly, which has been fun and thrilling. And it's also been a way for us to expand our reach and our scope. And now we're also reimagining our work with smaller businesses. So in our Chief Information Security Officer service, we've worked with companies that are pre-revenue startups all the way to companies that I would say are about, let's say, maybe 200 million in revenue, 500 million in revenue. And one of the things that there's a clear difference between those markets. So when it comes to the smaller market, we've really looked at reimagining how we can best work with them to service them where they are now. And so we're in the process of testing that service, which has been a lot of fun, and are continuing to learn a lot. What the changes that we're making to best serve this market. We're starting specifically with companies that are 10 million and under, and then right now specifically testing companies that are 1 million and under, and we'll go to 5 million and under. So really truly getting to those small businesses that are in that startup mode, that are at this phase of looking for growth and wanting to get some of their ideal clients, but their ideal clients may be large companies that are expecting them to go through a vendor risk process. So how do we support them in building that trust so that they can grow? And so it's been a lot of fun to do that. And we're getting confirmation after confirmation that this is something that they want. And so it's just continuing to go, okay, how best do we execute it in the easiest way possible for you? And for me, that's really been a lot of fun. And I look forward to 2025 when we fully launch it. So.
Well, that sounds great. And how exciting to get involved with companies, from the ground up and having policies. And like you said, because they're interacting with larger companies, utilizing your services and getting started early helps them be much more competitive.
Yeah.
So we ask, so we ask everybody on the Think Factory the same question, which is, Jessica, what keeps you up at night?
Yes. I have to say that particularly I feel like this year has been a challenging year for so many, where people have been maybe laid off, they're looking for a new job, or in their own business, if they're someone that we've been working with, they haven't seen necessarily the revenue for this year just because of the year that it's been in the United States. And one of the things that always comes to me is how can we best serve them in a way where we can give them what they want, that in a world that is changing so quickly from a technology standpoint, where AI is creating speed in just these kind of magnanimous ways within businesses, how do we continue to best serve people where they are and give them what they need without always needing to raise the price of that? And I think that's what I really also enjoy about this new service, is really looking to meet people where they are, really asking them, well, what is this worth to you in terms of dollars, and what are you willing to pay for it? And really being able to provide realistic solutions to people in a way where they can fully receive it in their business and not feel it's something they have to let go of. Because I truly do believe that in order for a company to fully grow and to be successful in this world with the speed of technology, they have to be thinking about security. It has to be part of their business strategy. It's no longer at a point where they can just put it aside. And I also believe that they're not going to know this for themselves because it's not their job necessarily to always be thinking about it. And so the way that I can best influence them and help them get there is something that I also think is part of that work that I'm here to do in the world. And so it's something that I want their businesses to thrive and to grow, and to not have one incident and have that be something that shifts the trust that they have with their clients, or that puts them out of business. So.
Wow, good stuff. Well, I want to thank you, Jessica, for being here today. I'm Susan Kleiner on behalf of our entire team at OGC Solutions and the Think Factory. We want to thank you for listening to today's episode. Be sure to check out the other Think Factory podcasts, where my colleagues talk to business leaders about industry trends and issues. Again, thanks, Jessica, for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Susan. This was so much fun.